What's going on, everybody? This is Brian Mazik, aka Unique Mazik. I'm the hardest working man in sports and gaming, and this is another episode of Heavy Presents I'm Just Saying with Brian Mazik. It's my pleasure to welcome in the panel. He's back after a day or a week or so on the injured reserve list. We're gonna call it. My man Lorenzo Reyna. How you doing today, Lorenzo?
Also back from COVID-19 protocols.
Oh, okay. You was in health and safety protocols?
Oh man.
That
Okay.
and National Signing Day, which is, I mean, it's hectic for anybody who follows or covers college football. So,
Well, yeah. Well, glad to have you back in any way, shape, or form. Mr.
Mhm.
Sanudo, what's the deal? How you doing today, sir?
Yeah, glad to be here, man. I mean, we'll talk about the Cardinals later, but what a brutal game by the Cardinals against the Lions. But
Man,
woof,
that was ugly.
did
That was
not
pretty
expect
ugly.
that.
Woo-wee.
That was pretty ugly.
Yeah.
Paul Boyd Green Esden Jr. What's happening, sir?
Gotta say, who wants that number one seed? Arizona, no. Tampa Bay, no. Just no one wants the number one seed? Okay, the Jets will take it. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Well,
If they're in the NFC,
yeah, no.
if they switch with the
And
Giants.
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see what happens there. It's looking ugly, but I had to tell y'all I'm rocking the Dodgers hat today is in honor of my boy DeMar DeRozan, who's come out of health and safety protocols for my Bulls and has been balling out of control. We dropped 38 on the Lakers in his first game back, came back with 26 the next night against the Rockets. He's doing big things, and we love to see it. We love to see it. But let's jump into this first topic right quick. Will the Bucs, the Tampa Bay Bucs, not the Milwaukee Bucks, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers injuries be their downfall, gentlemen? There's a lot going on. Chris Godwin is out for the season now with a torn ACL, which is really
Ooh-wee.
tough, especially because it's happening late in the season, which means this rehab is going to go into next season too. So I got to ask you guys, is this going to, this is not the only injury that they're dealing with either. So do you think that the injuries to Tampa Bay are going to hold them back and be their downfall going for a repeat Super Bowl championship? Paul, what do you say?
There's no doubt about it. And also, personally, obviously, for Godwin, he was on the franchise tag, so I feel for the man.
Mhm.
Hopefully, he still gets his bag because he's a talented dude, but signed the franchise tag to help Tampa Bay, who's trying to retain everybody. So, obviously, our love is sent out to him. So, for Godwin in particular. But overall, to answer the question, there's no doubt about it. You think Mike Evans, hamstring week to week. Fournette's going to be out maybe a game or two. And we saw Brady. It's funny. I don't agree with this comment, but I saw it on social media. I thought it was hilarious. Someone tweeted out under, aha, finally, Andy Dalton souped up as Tom Brady without all the weapons. I thought that was a hilarious comment. So I can't
Wow.
take credit.
Wow.
I thought that was funny. He said, forget
Wow.
the 7 Super Bowls. That's what it's about. So I respect the take. The injuries are going to take them down, man. I thought they were on a crash course prior to this New Orleans, shutout, first time in 15 years. That I thought they were heading back to the Super Bowl, but you just saw almost a level of ordinary for a 45-year-old who didn't have all the weapons. He just didn't look right. Part of that's the Saints. But overall, yeah, man, it's going to be their downfall. There's no question about it. They are not going to make a deep run with Godwin out, Evans, who knows, week to week. That doesn't sound great. And then Fournette's injury, there's just not enough there. Although Antonio Brown coming back is going to be huge for him.
Yeah. What do you say, Ryan?
I'm gonna give a little bit of a hot take. I don't think it's as bad as what people are saying. Look, I get it. Chris Godwin is Brady's favorite target. But it's likely that Evans is gonna come back. They're gonna get Antonio Brown back. Leonard Fournette doesn't really sound like it's season altering. So you still have Tom Brady, you still have that offensive line. So I think the offense as a whole, without Godwin, they can still make ends meet. Because I look at the NFC, there really isn't like a big time defense that you're sitting there saying, "Oh my god, like we have to figure this out." Like the Packers, I think, are middling. They're I think 17th in DVOA on defense. But I'm gonna say like the corners. The corners are still like a concern. Carlton Davis has been out, so I guess that is alluding to the injuries being a concern. But I still have a bad feeling when it comes to the Buccaneers in terms of coaching. I know Bruce Arians is a Super Bowl winning coach, but I checked it out. I think Computer Cowboy put this out. I think that of the worst 5 fourth down decisions of the week so far, for week 15, Bruce Arians was 4 of them. They made terrible decisions against the Saints, Bruce Arians, Byron Leftwich. So you can place the blame on that. I know they had injuries to Godwin, etc. But man, if you're not going to risk it to get the biscuit, you're not going to win the Super Bowl. And Bruce Arians, that was like his mantra in 2020 to go for it. And he wasn't going for it at all. And that was pretty much a conservative decision-making performance by Bruce Arians. So I think not enough people are talking about that, because I think they should have gotten some points. Talk about 0. I mean, get some points. And I think they could have gotten some points or maybe even a touchdown if Bruce Arians tried to be a little bit more aggressive, and he just didn't do it.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting take. I think some of that is a bit of and it's nature. It's just the nature of things. We look for things to blame when things go wrong, when teams underperform, which obviously Tampa Bay being shut out, not only losing but being shut out, is going to generate that sort of a concept. Lorenzo, I would love to hear what you have to say about this. Are the injuries going to be the downfall of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
I'm a piggyback off of Paul. I definitely believe it, and here's the reason why. During that Super Bowl run that Tampa Bay was on, they didn't have a myriad of injuries like they did at this point in the year. I mean, Godwin was healthy, Gronk was healthy. They had health at full strength at the defense, especially in the secondary. Ryan, you mentioned Carlton Davis. He's arguably their best shutdown corner. What are the chances you face Aaron Rodgers or Matthew Stafford or Dak Prescott or even a guy we're going to get into later on the show, Kyler Murray, and you don't have your best shutdown corner out there? I mean, the advantage goes to the opposition right there. And then with Godwin had 15 catches, he was one of the lone bright spots. And now you're dealing with Mike Evans being injured. I don't know what's happened with Scotty Miller. I mean, he was a major contributor last year. So we've seen this movie before when it comes to championship teams and why they don't make it back to the Super Bowl. Sometimes it's the injury bug, and it's happening with the Buccaneers right now.
Yeah, I think it's very difficult for to overlook or to not call into question what they're going to do based off in the light of all these injuries. But Lorenzo, you say you were going to piggyback off of Paul. I'm going to piggyback a little bit off of Ryan, but I'm going to mention 2 words that nobody mentioned in regards to what's happening. And this does not affect the defense. This is an offensive situation. The 2 words are Tyler Johnson. Now, a lot of people may not be familiar with Tyler Johnson. He hasn't gotten a ton of time to play. But when he has played, he's been a very strong contributor. And now I follow Tyler Johnson and have followed his career since he was a high school quarterback back in the state of Minnesota, and he was all world there. He was on with the Bucs last season. He had last year he played in 14 games, had 3 starts, he had 12 receptions for 169 yards, 2 touchdowns. This year he's played in 14 games with 3 starts, but he already has 27 receptions, 288 yards, hasn't gotten the end zone yet. But one thing about Tyler Johnson, Tom Brady loves him. He has spoken out about how much he trusts him, how much he loves to try to get him the ball anytime he gets an opportunity to throw to him when he's in the game. The thing of it is, he has been buried behind Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Antonio Brown, much bigger names, much more established guys. But Tyler Johnson, I'm telling you guys, is the truth. He is a legitimate NFL receiver. Like I said, former quarterback. He also went to University of Minnesota. He's a solid performer. And I am a strong believer that he will step up. And from an offensive standpoint, the Bucs will not miss Chris Godwin nearly as much as people think they will. And the reason they won't is because of Tyler Johnson. The other reason that they won't is because, thankfully, to Tom Brady, which is a good thing for Tom Brady, is that the offensive line is still intact. That is the one area of their team that is not just completely wrecked with injuries. Tristan Wirfs is still there, Jensen's still there, Ali Marpet, all of these guys are still there in place. So that works. You can still establish a solid running game that keeps defenses honest because you have the O line in place. And I like Ryan believe that Mike Evans will ultimately be back. You still have Gronk. You still have Cameron Brate. You still have some options and some things that they can do offensively. I would be more concerned about their secondary with so many injuries there, Carlton Davis, Richard Sherman, those guys out. But they did hold the Saints, albeit with Taysom Hill at quarterback, to only 9 points themselves. In most games, if you hold a team to 9, you're more than likely going to win. So I don't think that that's going to be as big of a deal as people think. They come back, they bounce back next week with a stronger offensive performance. Tyler Johnson, I'm calling it right now. I'm calling it right now. Tyler Johnson gets at least 5 receptions for at least 70 yards next game, and he probably finds the end zone. So you mark it down. If you're looking for somebody to pick up on fantasy, Tyler Johnson is a guy you definitely need to be looking at. I think
you got Paul on it right now.
Maybe a little game prop right there.
I think he has a strong performance. All right, let's go to this next one. The best landing spots for the Jets' 3 biggest free agents. Now, the Jets have quite a few free agents, but there are 3 in particular who probably will generate some legitimate conversation. So you got Marcus May, Morgan Moses, and Jamison Crowder. Now, obviously, you're talking about a team that is not doing very well. So it may be hard to believe that any of their, like, especially multiple free agents from the team would be people that that teams might be after, right? But I think there's something to be said for at least 2 of these guys, right? I'm not so sure about Marcus May. I know he hasn't played much this year, he's been hurt, but I'm not so sure that he garners that kind of attention. He's been a really durable guy most of his career, 16 games played, 16 starts, but this has been a guy who's played a lot for bad defenses. So I'm not sure how much people love him. Morgan Moses is a legitimate offensive lineman who can plug in for a few different places. We definitely know that. I believe Jamison Crowder is a playmaking guy who needs to play with the right kind of quarterback. So I'm down with those 2 guys. Not so sure about Marcus May, but I want to start with Ryan. I want to ask you, what do you think is the best landing spot for those free agents? Maybe even if it's staying at home with the Jets.
Yeah, with Marcus May, I have no idea what his contract is going to look like. I think Spot Track has him probably taking maybe a 1-year deal, maybe a 1-year prove it type of deal. If not, maybe a team, goes overboard and, gives him a 3 or 4-year deal, 10, $11 million a year. But I don't think that is going to happen as of right now. I mean, things could change. But as far as teams are concerned, I'm looking at the Baltimore Ravens with Marcus May. Just because I'm looking at their scoring defense, statistics, I think they're 30th in yards pass attempt. I think their safety position as a whole needs some work. So I think that's some like that. I think that's an area where the Ravens, I'm looking at their cap space. I think they have enough cap space. And then I mentioned a week ago that Tom Pelissero reported that there's going to be $16 million more in cap space. So, with the Ravens, they're a borderline playoff team right now, but I think if they can add the right pieces, and Marcus May is not that old. He's what, like 27? How
28,
old?
28. Yeah,
28,
he's 28 years
so
old.
I think that would be a great destination for him, and it's a win now destination, unlike the Jets. So I think that would be okay. I've been looking at the rookie safety. Brandon Stevens has had a disaster of a season, so I think that would be a good destination for him. And as far as the other 2 is concerned, I think the Jets should retain Morgan Moses, just because you can never have enough depth on the offensive line. But let's just say that another team needs Morgan Moses more, because if you look at the Jets, they have, Becton and George Fant on the 2 sides. I would look at the Bengals for Morgan Moses, just because they lost Riley Reif this season, and he's on a 1-year contract. They need a right tackle in the offseason, and if you look at free agents when it comes to right tackles, it's really unappealing. And that's the one guy I look at Pro Football Focus. I think he's in the top 70 when it comes to free agents in this upcoming offseason. So I look at Morgan Moses in Cincinnati as a good fit. I didn't really look at too many other teams, to be honest, but I think Bengals. I think that's a good fit. And for Jamison Crowder, I looked at 3 teams. I'm going to give you 3 right here because there's always teams that need wide receivers. The first one would be the Chiefs. They always need a third receiver, and they never really got it from Mecole Hardman. Of course, they have Tyreek Hill. They've had Sammy Watkins in the past, and Kelce's pretty much the 1A, 1B with Hill and Kelce. But I think the Chiefs would be a wonderful destination for him. And he still has it, man. Like, some people wrote him off a year or 2 ago, and he still has it. The injuries were a concern heading into his tenure with the Jets. But look, he's a guy that can flat out ball underneath. And if he has a quarterback that can be in rapport with him, I can guarantee you he can get at least 70 catches in an offense in Kansas City. And the other 2, I'm not going to talk too much because I think it's from Chiefs to like you're going to the gutter with these other 2 teams, and that's the Jaguars and the Lions. The Jaguars, they need wide receivers. I mean, that's without question.
Yeah.
Mark Jones, 500 something receiving yards, is the leader for the Jacksonville, and the Lions as well. I know they got St. Brown, but they need more help in that area. So those are the 2 teams that really need wide receivers badly, and they need a number 1, obviously. But Jamison Crowder can fill in as that veteran for the Jaguars and the Lions.
I like it. I like it. I like a lot of what you said there. I would probably go different directions for each of those, but I still think what you said makes some sense. I'm going to go and Marcus May. As far as I'm concerned, looking forward to what looks to be is going to be a very different year for this particular team in terms of you should see a lot of turnover. I'm talking about the Chicago Bears. They have to do a lot in terms of changing up what they're going to do defensively, what they're going to do from a salary cap standpoint. There's probably going to be some high-priced, big-name guys that are looking for different places to play next year. One of those guys very well could be Eddie Jackson. And if Eddie Jackson, because Eddie Jackson has a humongous contract, and if the Bears can find any way at all to get from under this based off the way he's played, I think they probably take that chance. I do believe Marcus May is in a 1-year prove-it deal sort of a situation. He's on injured reserve right now. 6 games played this season. He hasn't been spectacular. At best, he's been solid. At best. So in that sort of a situation, you're looking to find a spot where you can have a veteran who understands, knows how to play, but the Bears very well could be in the market to draft a free agent, draft a free safety. And if they do that they're not necessarily ready to throw out on the field immediately, maybe Marcus May is the veteran who starts in week 1. And then you hope that that rookie free safety proves that he's ready to play earlier. So I could see something like that, or Marcus may be in a similar style, or someone similar to him coming in. I'm going to stay in the NFC North for Morgan Moses. And the Packers offensive line has been wrecked with injuries this year. Just finding a hard time finding continuity overall. And I like putting a veteran like Moses in front of, hopefully, if you're a Green Bay Packers fan, Aaron Rodgers coming back for another season. I think behind wanting to make sure Devontae Adams is joining him is Aaron's going to want some protection there. And I think that's just overall, I think the Green Bay organization, the franchise, even the fans have really protected Aaron Rodgers quite a bit this year with all of the issues and things that have happened. So, with the vaccine situation and all of that stuff, they haven't really beaten him up. So maybe he softened his whole feel towards that organization. It won't be as easy for him to walk away as we thought it would be. It looked like it was just a done deal. Maybe that's not the case. If it's not the case, I could imagine Jordan Love wanting to go somewhere else pretty soon, because if not, he's going to be sitting for a long time. So we'll see what happens as far as that. But I still like Morgan Moses there. As far as Jamison Crowder, I'm going to say the Baltimore Ravens. It feels that they are always in search of a wide receiver who can be a playmaker with the ball after the catch. Jamison Crowder has proven to be that kind of a player throughout his career. He unfortunately is a guy who he's never really had the pleasure of playing with a really good quarterback. And then he has battled some injuries himself throughout his career, especially this season, playing in only 11 games. But even in those 11 games, he's already got 50 catches, 431 yards, 2 touchdowns. If you think about it, he would be probably close to having an opportunity to maybe have 100 catch season and close to 1,000 yards receiving. He'd be in the ballpark if he had played more games. So I think, I mean, if you look at it, he's been far more productive than Corey Davis, who started every game that he's played this year. He played in 9 of them and started in all of them. So I don't know. I really like Jamison Crowder. He's a little undersized, but he's that spark plug kind of tough guy that I think would be really work really well with Lamar Jackson. So the Ravens are the team that I see for him. What would you say, Mr. Reyna?
Yeah, so I want to start with Jamison Crowder, and I mean Baltimore is definitely a legit spot because they have succeeded with receivers of his stature. Now, I actually am gonna go out west with Jamison Crowder and add a couple more teams. One is actually the 49ers, and here's the reason why I say that. Mohamed Sanu's a free agent. Juwan Jennings, even though he stepped up as of late for the 49ers, he's also a free agent. And even though Brandon Ayuk has stepped up as of late, especially on the deep threat end, they realistically right now they don't have a deep threat opposite of Ayuk because they put Debo Samuel in the backfield. So I think maybe perhaps Jamison Crowder, maybe Robert Saleh, a former 49er, could put in the good work for Kyle Shanahan and maybe look to see if Jamison Crowder could fit in there. I'm also going to stay out west, but in the AFC with the Las Vegas Raiders. We all know they love speed. They've also loved like sometimes the 5'9", 5'10" receivers. I also have to wonder what's going to happen with Deshaun Jackson. Does he stay? Is he at this? I mean, I'm thinking like he's on his way out. Maybe you could be a little bit more youthful and bring in Jamison Crowder. Morgan Moses. You know, I definitely agree with Green Bay. I'm going to add one more team that's had trouble protecting their quarterback, and that's the Tennessee Titans. I believe it's Ryan Tannehill, who at one time he was the league leader in most sacks. So they need all kinds of offensive line help, especially heading into next year if they want to take that next step and head to the Super Bowl. Marcus May, I'm with you guys too. It's like I feel like that he's a hard guy to gauge because I just feel like I haven't seen much from him. But I'm thinking maybe, just maybe, and I have to go back to the 49ers because of the list of free agents they have. I mean, Jaquiski Tartt is a free agent. You know, they have 2 other free agents in Harris, and then also I believe it's trying to think here. It's actually one of their other safeties who hasn't really played Stephon Wilson, but they have 3 free agents at safety. And so I'm thinking maybe it could be a prove-it deal where you bring him in for 1 year, see if he can mix in with Jimmy Ward and their rookie Talanoa Funga. I mean, I have a hard time pronouncing his name as well, but the rookie from USC. So maybe out west is where most of these guys are going to trek.
Could be. I mean, a mass exodus west could happen with the Jets. Paul, Boy Green, as then you are a Jets specialist. I would love to hear what you say about these 3 guys.
Let me immediately change my little nickname here to Paul Boy Green Eston to resident Jets specialist, Paul Eston.
Yeah, put it in.
I love that.
Yeah.
Make
Insider.
Make it stick.
Yeah. With that being said, we'll start with Marcus May. Obviously, unfortunately, ruptured his Achilles. A routine play, goes to step back, ankle gives out. And people say when you blow out your Achilles, you feel like someone kicked you in the back of the leg. So when he stepped back, he looked to see who hit him, but no one was there. So that's the unfortunate nature of the Achilles. And because it was so late in the season, when he ruptured that Achilles, he is likely not going to be ready immediately. He's hoping to be back at some point during training camp next year for whatever team he plays for. He's currently playing on the franchise tag. Unfortunately, the relationship is burned with the Jets, or I would have simply suggested the easiest thing to do is just do a one-up deal, prove it, look fantastic, and then go get your bag. But unfortunately, that relationship was really destroyed between Marcus May and his agent and the New York Jets based on some underhanded things that were happening on the negotiating front. So with that being said, for Marcus May, let's reunite him with his best buddy Jamal Adams out there in Seattle. They clearly need some help on the back end of that defense. The Legion of Boom is the Legion of no. I mean, it's just not there. So, quite frankly, Marcus May says he still texts with Jamal Adams every day. You know what? Let me help you. Help me help you. Jamal Adams, Marcus May reunited there on the West Coast. And again, I think it's 100% a one-year prove-it deal. It's unfortunate for him, but that's the only thing he's going to get. That long-term deal he was aspiring and hoping for. He didn't take it from the Jets. He wanted more money, and that's the risk these players take, unfortunately. So Marcus May to Seattle. Morgan Moses, this is the one I'll say the Jets are going to do everything in their power to re-sign. They tried to get him to sign a multi-year deal. Remember, Washington released him very late in the process, so he kind of had this late free agency tour, limited options, limited money out there. The Jets offered a 2-year deal. Morgan Moses and his agent did not bite on that. By the way, on my YouTube channel, I interviewed the guy that broke that story, Sam Fortier, for the Washington Post. Shameless plug. But with that being said, I believe the Jets are going to push the chips in the middle of the table. They're going to get Morgan Moses back. Ryan said it best. You can never have enough offensive tackle depth. So they're going to do everything in their power to bring back Morgan. And finally, Crowder, I mean, throw a dart at the board. This guy could go anywhere. There is going to be a lot of interest for a guy that could just be a producer. You guys mentioned Chiefs make sense, all these teams. A team I haven't heard you guys say, and to me, it's an ideal fit, is the New Orleans Saints. Michael Thomas badly needs a Robin to his Batman, and quite frankly, they may need a Batman to their Batman because Michael Thomas has been an MIA, quite frankly. So they need somebody. He reminds me of that Sean Payton slot that can do it all, mismatch nightmare in the middle. Again, no one thinks of Jamison Crowder. You think of all the best receivers in the league. He's never in that conversation, but he's just reliable. He's consistent. He moves the chains. He's savvy. I think he's a great fit there in New Orleans, and I think that's a place he could go. But again, any number of teams, Green Bay would be interested. Kansas City would be interested. Baltimore even, with all their receiver issues and getting just a reliable guy. There's just so much interest around the league with Jamison. He will not find a problem finding a home this offseason.
So you mentioned his work in the slot. One of the teams that has also gotten some great production over the years in the slot is your other favorite team, the New England Patriots. And so so they don't currently have a player who is really producing in the slot the way they've become accustomed to seeing that with Julian Edelman and Wes Welker and those guys and Deion Branch and people like that. Do you see a way where Jamison Crowder might find, because if I'm not mistaken, Bill Belichick has, spoke glowingly about Jamison Crowder in the past, and we all know how that works. He speaks glowingly about a guy 3 to 4 years before he goes ahead and tries to sign him. I'm really just waiting on the day when Hunter Renfrow becomes a member of the New England Patriots, because it just feels like it's just going to happen at some point. And I have a feeling he has the ability to be even better at that role than Edelman and Wes Welker, but we'll see what happens.
Wow.
But Hunter Renfrow is a beast. Like, he really is a beast. That kid is nasty. And another guy who the Patriots could have had instead of N'Keal Harry, but
the Patriots might want the Patriots might want Braxton Berrios back too.
There's another guy.
Yeah.
Thanks for
well,
that guy.
I think he's definitely getting it done as a returner. I don't know if he has quite shown it yet, but it's funny how Jet slot guys seem like they probably would have been really good fits with the Jets. Imagine Wayne Corbett.
No, don't say it, please.
As a Patriot.
Oh,
disgusting.
It just seems like it should have happened, right? Just Wayne Corbett just seemed like he should have been a Patriot.
No. But I will say this, Brian.
He said no. No.
Hopper boy.
You can't have Wayne.
No Wayne Corbett.
He would have been Wes Welker before Wes Welker.
Yeah, I will feed the New England point, though. I think Jamison really has some odd feelings with the Jets right now. Remember, in the offseason, he was due $10 million. And this is the classic thing as a fan. Do you root for the team or do you root for the player in these situations? Jamison was owed $10 million. The Jets said, Jamison, that's not going to happen, buddy. You're going to take less. or else. And Jamison's like, what's or else mean? Well, don't take the pay cut and we'll tell you. So unfortunately, it was a very awkward negotiation. Jamison met with the media after and said, yeah, didn't know they were going to come to me with a pay cut. That was kind of weird, but I guess I'm here. They sliced his contract in half. It was $10 million, non-guaranteed. They could have cut him at any point. He would have lost all of it. And they renegotiated it. It was a 1-year deal to $5 million, fully guaranteed with some incentives. So I think he has some weird feelings with the Jets. I think he would love nothing better than to go to a rival and get to give it to the Jets twice a year and be able to show some chutzpah. So the Patriots would be an ideal fit, a perfect fit with everything you just said from a production standpoint, what he can provide. And again, Jamison is a nice, quiet guy, but I think, again, that he'd love nothing more than the sweet, juicy revenge the New England Patriots could provide starting this offseason.
Be nasty. It would be pretty nasty. All right, speaking of the Patriots, let's jump right into this next one. Are the Patriots, or after the Patriots loss to the Colts on Saturday night NFL football, which just sounds weird in itself, are you more or less sold on Mac Jones? Now, I'm going to start first with this one.
Sure.
Mac Jones did not play well at all in the first half, right? A pretty egregious interception that he threw that, Leonard picked him off. I think on Darius Leonard picked up him off about 5 or 7 yard line. He just didn't see him. Ball didn't have nearly enough smoke on it to be throwing it at the part of the field where he was throwing it. Just didn't play well in the first half. I didn't feel like he answered the challenge that started even before the game, where Brian Okereke was calling him out and saying, we're gonna make Mac beat us. We're gonna make him beat us. But in the second half, my man Mac clicked on crazy. He clicked on crazy. And you know what was in he helped cut the lead down to 3. It was 20-17. The Patriots needed another stop, and then they give the ball back to what had become at that point a red hot Mac Jones, who would have had a chance to pull off an epic fourth quarter comeback. It was 20-0 heading into the fourth quarter. It was 20-17 at that point. But Dante Hightower, who is about Dante Midtower at this point, is missed a crucial tackle in the hole that turned into a 67-yard touchdown run for Jonathan Taylor and a crushing loss. But second half Mac Jones made me more confident in him moving forward than anything else, because what I loved was his bounce back after struggling in the first half. That showed some, I do this with my kids when we're, I coach some high school basketball, and I do this with my kids when they make a humongous play or they show like some resolve.
Or you don't do the LeBron James?
That's the heart, because I recognize what kind of resilience is required to come back from certain kinds of situations. And only dogs do that. Only dogs do that. Mac Jones is a dog.
Wow.
He's an odd looking little nerdy dog, but he is a dog. And I have got to give him his props for the way he bounced back, gave his team a chance to win. And other thing I was really impressed about, through early part of this year, when Mac Jones would make an error, he looked like his whole world was about to crush. He looked like literally like he's about to cry. He threw that interception to Darius Leonard, walked over to the sidelines, took a seat, very aware of his body language, very, very aware of that whole concept, came back in the second half and played his butt off. I feel like he clinched Offensive Rookie of the Year with that performance, even though they didn't win. And to me, I was more sold than ever after that particular performance. I can't wait to hear what Paul Boyd Green has been.
Yeah, good.
About that.
You know what, Brian? I've given you enough crap about Mac Jones. It's time to put some respect on his name. I mean, what resilience to fight back and lose by 10. Wow. You know what? That's the kind of leader that I'm looking for. A kind of guy that says, boys, hey, what's the spread on this game? we're gonna work our way back, baby, and we're gonna lose respectively. We're the New England Patriots, for Pete's sake. Wow, that's the kind of resilience. You know what? Offensive Rookie of the Year, lock it up for whole Mac Jones. To answer the question, am I more or less confident in Mac Jones, or whatever the hell the question was?
You threw it out.
How the hell can I be more confident? I just don't understand the narrative. This is what I don't get. Mac Jones, right? He throws a pick. Okay, he gets a little crap during the game. Greg Olsen and Kevin Burkhardt are on the call. So he gets a little crap for the interception. Of course, he threw a terrible interception. Then when he like throws routine incompletions or like slides, wow, what a slide. Wow. He really slid, man. What a smart play, Mac Jones. And I'm like looking, there's no one else in my living room, but I'm looking around like, what the hell? What are we watching here? Zach Wilson throws a touchdown. Yeah, it was wide open though. But like all these rookie quarterbacks are being compared, it just feels like Justin Fields, name them all, Trey Lance, anybody. It just feels like Mac Jones is for some weird reason getting the benefit of the doubt all the time. I feel less confident in him. I just feel like if the Colts thing happens in the playoffs, right? Because the Patriots are going to the playoffs. There's no question about it. And if they get in a position where they're down a lot, I don't think they're capable of coming back, quite frankly. I think they're capable of coming back and losing by 10 points. Sure. That plan has been figured out. But I think actually coming back and winning a football game, I don't think Mac Jones has it. I think he lacks the it factor. I think he lacks the juice, lacks the sizzle necessary to rally the troops because he's done a great job in a perfect position. Most of the time, the defense has played very well. The piece around him played well. He hasn't had to fight back from deficits, and he had a chance to prove the narrative. And Jonathan Taylor had other plans. And also, Mac Jones didn't have enough plans that first half to do enough where he didn't have to make the crazy 20-point comeback. If he did anything in the first half, the Patriots are winning this game, and we're still talking about the hottest team in football. We're not talking about that on this show, are we, boys?
I think your assessment is so egregiously unfair that it literally sticks. Like I'm at the point of vomiting because of how egregiously unfair it is. I mean, there's no mention at all to the lack of weapons. Very similar to what happened with, not quite as bad, but very similar to what Cam Newton had to deal with last year. There's like he doesn't have like there's no dynamic run after the catch guy. He's playing without his top running back. The Colts, let's not trip. The Colts front seven is filthy. This is a filthy defense up front. Mr. Buckner might be the most underrated defensive lineman in the NFL. He's in the conversation. He's in the conversation because this dude is so disruptive. Whether his hands in the dirt, he's standing up. He's doing he allows the Colts to do so many things defensively with their front seven. But even through all that, Mac Jones finds a way to get this popping in the fourth quarter. It was late in the third when the drive started to put 17 points on the board really quick. I don't know. I think you're high. And
I just gotta say, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
On eggnog.
He's thoroughly enjoyed that. The Patriots losing in primetime, getting smacked around. I gotta be honest, America celebrated on Saturday night. It was beautiful. Drink those tears.
I think Boy Green is for the strong weed is what that means because I think you're high. Mr. Sanudo, what do you say?
Damn, this is tough. I'm gonna go I'm not gonna say more, I'm not gonna say less. I'm just gonna say inconclusive for this segment. I mean, because I really can't really tell with Mac Jones. Look, I'll give him some credit. He played better in the second half, but of course, defenses are gonna play different when they're up. So that's pretty much what the Colts have been doing. I remember the Jets game earlier in the year. I think they were down by a lot to the Jets, but you saw Josh Johnson tear them apart. Well, guess what? Defenses play different when it comes to the third and fourth quarters. In the first half, Mac Jones was egregious, like you just said. He was egregious. He wasn't really reading the defense for a couple plays. So look, I gotta say, when you look at the Patriots' schedule, how many games have we really said man, that's really tough for a rookie quarterback to go in there and win. on their own. I haven't really seen that with Mac Jones. I've seen them play terrific defense. I've seen their running backs play tremendous throughout the year, but I really haven't seen Mac Jones, take it, from one side to the other, basically doing it on his own. So I'm not less sold. I'm not more sold. I need to see more, honestly. And look, people can still say, oh, Mac Jones is the best quarterback in the rookie class. You're not saying much. You're not really saying much because you're looking at Lawrence, you're looking at even Fields tonight before the garbage time. There really hasn't been any rookie quarterbacks that have stood out. I need to see more out of him. I think obviously the year 2, I expect Mac Jones to play better, but that yesterday game against the Colts, I'm not really too impressed, to be honest with you. I mean, I wasn't really like out of my chair saying, wow, that's Mac Jones right there. I mean, I think the only play I will say was the jump ball to N'Keal Harry, but that was like a jump ball. I basically could have done that. I could have thrown like a 50-yard.
You could have did it.
I could have done that.
Really?
You could have did it.
I could heave it up.
We need to see YouTube.
Wow.
Good. Great. Go get it, N'Keal Harry. So it wasn't really a tight window.
Wow.
Look, I'm not really. Yeah, I went there.
Freaking wow.
Way to go, Sanudo.
I went there.
Ryan says he could have thrown the jump pass.
Oh,
to N'Keal Harry.
Sounds like dude perfect.
With pass with freaking Brenton Buckner bearing down in your chest.
The force buckner.
You would have got it in there.
I could have done that in my sleep.
Boy, it's some good weed being passed around between Paul and Ryan Sanudo. Y'all have got to start to distribute this amongst other people. Open up your own strand or something because you guys are just blazing over here. Mr. Rayner, what do you say?
Brian, you mentioned how Mac Jones is a dog. I'll add, he has that Alabama grit. Nick Saban taught him well. I did see some resiliency out of Mac Jones. And you know what? I also saw a Mac Jones who was educated on that night against an AFC contender. You know what? This is good for Mac Jones. This is good for the rookie. It's a learning experience going against a stout defense that's led by a defensive lineman in his prime, an inside linebacker in his prime. And you know what? New England wasn't asking Mac Jones to be Tom Brady 2.0. They're asking him to be Mac Jones. And you know what? He showed what he could do, even though they lost. He showed what he could do when it comes to trying to see what kind of resiliency he has. Because that game could have been disastrous. That game could have been one-sided. And so I did see some fight and grit out of Mac Jones. And so, I mean, to me, it's like, I mean, I'm sold, but it's like I feel like New England's in the position where they're not asking him to do too much anyway. I mean, I feel like that year 2, year 3, that's when they're going to pile up the playbook. They're going to try to cater around him. So, I think it's like one of those learning experiences. If anything, this was the equivalent of Mac Jones taking one of his hardest finals. And he struggled in the beginning, but then his light bulb clicks. He remembers what he studied, and then he finishes that final as strong as he could.
Well, I was a little dazed from the exhibition of absolute ridiculousness that was coming from Paul and Ryan, and I called DeForest Buckner Brenton Buckner. Brenton Buckner is actually a former.
He's a retired player.
He's a
retired Pamper.
He's a coordinator now. So I just had to correct myself. But this is what happens when you get distracted by lunacy. It'll do that. It makes you you don't know what's going on. You're getting your Buckners mixed up because people look so crazy. This is what happens. But we'll move on now so that we don't have to be crazy anymore.
Yeah.
All right. George Kittle, Travis Kelce. Would you rather? Who would you rather have at tight end right now, Lorenzo Reyna? Would it be George Kittle or Travis Kelce? And don't you be a homer because you're over there in the Bay Area.
No. I mean, I'm a fan of Kelce. I'm a fan of Kelce, but I want the guy who just destroyed the Super Bowl 50 MVP. I want the guy who's been on the tear catching 13 catches or 11 catches in another game. And at 28, he's in his prime. That's George Kittle. I mean, Kittle is clearly showing that he's playing his best football right now. I mean, Kelce, I feel like he could give you maybe 2 very good years, but then it's like at the age and at that position, I mean, how much more dominant can Kelce be? I feel like in the case of Kittle, I'm think that you're going to see not just this dominant year. I have a feeling like 5-6 years, we're going to be talking about George Kittle and the countless of Pro Bowls that he's had for a very long time.
Lorenzo,
Yes.
sir, I'd have to say you are wrong. You are very wrong right now.
So are you going to accuse me of this?
No, you're not. I don't think you're high. I don't think you're high.
Maybe it's the eggnog.
Powell and Ryan are high. Like you're just like buzzed. You know, they're full gone. They're full gone. I'm talking.
You were
about
talking Homer with Lorenzo. I'd look at you with the Homer.
They're full
glasses.
gone. They're full gone. You know, George Kittle is a phenomenal player. Both guys are obviously phenomenal players. You obviously don't have a would you rather unless you're talking about two phenomenal guys. But if you ask me right now, who would I rather have? Now we do have to mention this. Travis Kelce did just land in health and safety protocols, so he did test positive for COVID-19. So that's a thing. And then also the other thing you have to consider is that Travis Kelce is 4 years older than George Kittle, so that's a factor, of course. So, but if the would you rather had been moving forward, who would you rather have? I probably would have taken Kittle because he's younger. But I'm going to tell you something. I watched Travis Kelce make some plays on Thursday night that I really don't think I've ever seen another tight end capable of making. So I've seen guys like Vernon Davis with unprecedented straight line speed at the tight end position. Like I don't think I've ever seen a tight end faster than Vernon Davis. I think he, even if you go to the 40 times, I think legitimately the fastest ever timed tight end in the history of the game.
He was a 4.3. He was a 4.3.
Kyle Pitts is not even as fast as Vernon Davis. Darren Waller's a freak. Okay. Antonio Gates was a whole different kind of freak, right? Tony Gonzalez. But Travis Kelce's ability to change direction and make plays after the catch, I have not seen another tight end capable of doing that. And I'm going to tell you, with this particular team, it's so especially valuable because Patrick Mahomes creates so many scramble opportunities and situations where you need a receiver, or in this situation, a tight end, who's able to find that open space, make himself available, and he makes these plays that, okay, at the catch, for most tight ends, it's an 11-yard first down play, and you move the chains and you keep the drive going. Well, Travis Kelce is turning these into chunk plays that sometimes go the distance, and he's still playing at this level, even at his age of 32. Like already this year in 14 games, he's probably going to miss at least one game dealing with COVID protocols. And it's really a shame because it's probably going to rob him of what would have been, or would he have a really good chance of having 2 consecutive 100 reception seasons. But he has 83 receptions, 1,066 yards, 7 touchdowns already this season. And here's a huge difference, and why I would take Kelce. Even though he's older, he's been far more durable than George Kittle. Like Travis Kelce doesn't miss games. He's missing this now because of the freaking pandemic, but he missed a game last year, played all 16 games in 2018 and 19, missed a game in 2017, all 16 games in 2014, 15, and 16. And then as a rookie, he only played in 1 game, so we don't even want to count that. But since 2014, Travis Kelce has missed 2 games. 2 games. If you consider how often he touches the ball, we're talking about a dude who just locked up his 6th straight 1,000-yard season. He has had at least 83 catches in each of the last 6 seasons, and he's missed 2 games at a impact contact position like tight end. I'm taking Travis Kelce. Durability, playmaking ability, I'm taking him over Kittle. That's who I'd rather have. What say you, Ryan Sanudo?
Yeah, I have to agree with everything you said. Even though I think a week or two I said Kittle's probably the most complete tight end just because of his blocking abilities. But Kelce on offense, I don't think I have to say anything more. Just the way he cradles the football. He doesn't fumble. He doesn't. There were times probably years ago where sometimes he would drop passes egregiously, but now he's just such a reliable guy for Mahomes, and that's why the Chiefs, in a way, really haven't gotten another wide receiver, even though I think they should in the future. They try to get McCole Hardman, in the draft, but Kelce's that guy where you really just forget about the wide receiver position after Tyreek Hill because you have Kelce every single time, and he's a great security blanket. They do screens with him, they get the third downs with Kelce. I mean, he's just such a reliable piece and weapon, and age doesn't really matter for Travis Kelce. I think he's such a special specimen that he's pretty much a guy that's almost like a LeBron of the tight end position, where he's going to age gracefully. And I don't know what they do with him in terms of his body. They hook up, some drugs or whatever, and they get him right.
No, don't say that.
It's like the feed
Right back on the field, whenever he's
Random
hurt,
drug
like,
test coming.
yeah, man, like there's just
The
something
fever of the
with him
night.
where like you think like maybe he's hurt or something, but he just bounces right back. And Brian alluded to the games he's missed. I mean, it's incredible. So I don't think I have to harp on it too much. Kelce's my guy.
Definitely. And Paul, I really, really want to know what you say about this, because I'm pretty sure you think none of them compare to Dustin Keller, but I just still
This is true.
we have to find out what you say.
Okay. Well, with that being said, obviously Dustin Keller's number one. So now we're arguing who's number two. Who's number two? So, I mean, with that being said, with all due respect, I got to say that, quite frankly, Brian, you stole a lot of my thunder here, but I'll tell you this, that George Kittle's made of glass. I want to ask you guys, obviously Kelce has played more seasons. Do you know how many times in Kittle's career he's had a full 16-game season? Does anyone know off the top of their head?
What?
Once.
Oh, once. Okay.
One time. Once. He's made of glass. If the doctors did surgery that checked him, whoa, bone's made of glass here. That's what he is. He is, as they say in the Christmas story, fragile, is Italian. That's what they are about Mr. George Kittle. And here's another fun fact. Now, we could trash Kittle all day. Let's jump over to Kelce. He has the most 1,000-yard seasons of any tight end in NFL history with 6. The next closest is a tie between a million guys with Jason Witten and Gronkowski and others. And what Brian said, so he is the most all time, and he's done it 6 times in a row. 6 times in a row. So not only does he has the most number, and it could have been over any number of seasons, it's consistent. 6 1,000-yard seasons in a row. That is exceptional. He's a Hall of Famer. Again, I have had the great pleasure of being alive at a perfect time of seeing all the really good tight ends from, Tony Gonzalez is one of my favorites all time. Antonio Gates, one of the greats all time. A super underrated, obviously, Jason Witten has the white man move. Whoop! He can just do a juke. I don't know how he jukes people. He has 0 speed, no moves, but he just does whoop. And guys fall over the place. And me and my dad joked about it. Like, what the hell? What's that white man move that Jason Witten has? It just seems to work. But Jason Witten, obviously, Gronk, the physical freak. But Kelce just seems to have the perfect piece of everybody. That's what he really brings to the table. He has the speed, the athleticism. How many walk-off tight end touchdowns have you seen where he catches a ball, jukes people out, walks it in on Thursday Night Football to get such a key win against the Chargers, who totally blew that game? I mean, with all due respect, this may be one of the easiest questions I've ever answered on the history of this show. Kittle is made of glass. He's a cool guy. He's a wrestling fan. And, he's had a lot of time to do that since he's missed almost every game of his career. So he's had a lot of time to watch TV and do things of that nature. So sorry, Lorenzo. Sorry for your 49ers. But Kittle is third best. Keller, Kelce,
number 1.
Speaking of WWE, Travis Kelce also has a wrestling doppelganger. His name is Mojo Riley. Now you tell me that doesn't look like Travis Kelce.
That's his bro.
Looks a lot like Travis Kelce. So It's a weird thing there, which means absolutely nothing, but I figured I'd say it anyway. All right, let's move on. Next up is Kyler Murray in the elite tier for NFL quarterbacks. So, Ryan, is Kyler Murray an elite quarterback? Now, he's coming off a doo-doo performance against the Detroit Lions. Doo-doo against Detroit. Like you could like create an episode of a sitcom, and it would have been called Doo-doo in Detroit. So
it was flat out embarrassing. I mean,
Yeah.
I think they know it. They're just trying to, brush it off, and they have a short week, with the Colts on Christmas Day. But you know what? I think my opinion's changed. See, going into the season, I think I had Kyler in the 5 to 10 range for quarterbacks, maybe closer to 10 than to 1, obviously. But then things changed. Before the injury, he was looking like one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I would agree with this question. Top 3, maybe even number 1. But then he gets hurt, and then his season goes down. Luckily they had a bye, so we can get another week to not play. But then against the Bears, he didn't really have to do too much, and then Rams and Lions, disgusting. So I mean, there was just some plays that he could have easily made. I think the first play, first opportunity to get a touchdown, miscommunication with Green against the Rams. And I got to say, the biggest trait which changed my opinion with Murray is just the negative plays. Like whenever he takes sacks, I think he leads the league in most yards given up per sack, and that can't happen. You can run for your life and make a spectacular play, and everyone can love you, but at the end of the day, if half of those don't work out, man, you're just putting yourself and the team in the gutter. So that's what I really take away with Kyler. And sometimes, there were guys wide open, or maybe it wasn't the first read, but you know what? He can't just look at the first read. And that's what I think was the focal point in terms of the Lions game. I think Kirk was wide open on a play on the side on a third down. He didn't see him. He ends up getting sacked, when really it was the offensive line that did their part. It was pretty much a coverage sack, but at the same time, Kirk was open, didn't get it to him. So I got to say no. And I think there's still time left. You have the Colts, Cowboys, Seahawks, but I think my opinion stays true before the season. I think he's around 5 to 10, and that doesn't make him elite. So I think elite is obviously 1 to 3 in that range, and I can firmly say it's Brady, Rodgers, and then you can make the argument for other guys as well. But really, I don't see Kyler up there right now.
It's funny you should say that about him and where he leads in yards lost per sack. Well, he in total yards lost for sacks, he is 7th in the NFL, 219 yards.
Where's Justin Fields?
Justin Fields is actually 5th, and that's not counting what happened tonight. So coming into tonight, Justin Fields had lost 234 yards.
Yeah.
And Justin Fields has been sacked a whopping 12.5% of the time he drops back, and that was coming into tonight. So that's pretty ugly. But the thing about Kyler Murray is that Kyler Murray is averaging an average of 8.7 yards lost per sack. So that does speak to the fact that he's doing a lot behind the line of scrimmage. A lot of people don't realize this, and we're talking a lot about Detroit. But as great as Barry Sanders was, Barry Sanders had the most rushes for loss of any running back in NFL history. And when you are that kind of guy who is going to try to keep a play alive and going to try to do a lot of bouncing back and forth, when it works, it's spectacular. But more often than not, it doesn't. So there's a time period where you have to learn when to live to fight another day to limit the damage. Tom Brady is a perfect example of a guy like that, who totally, maybe even to a fault, knows when he'll give it up in a second. I'm going to hit the dirt, or I'm going to throw it clean the hell out of bounds, right? And, this is what we're going to do. Kyler Murray is not that kind of guy. Kyler Murray is going to try to make a play whenever he can. Fans love him for it until it doesn't work. And then you start to hear some of the whispers, and people start telling them to go play second base and go play center field, and all kinds of things are going on. But
or slot receiver.
Yeah, I don't think that he is an elite quarterback yet. And one of the things that I do look at the subtraction plays that he has. I do look at some ball security stuff. He has been very, very fortunate that he has not lost more fumbles than he has this year. I mean, he has really had a hard time keeping a handle on the football this year. He leads the NFL with 11 fumbles this year.
Mm.
Just so happens he hasn't lost a lot of them, but he's had 11 fumbles. So
Wow.
you look at that kind of stuff. You look at the minus plays that he makes, and then you also look at the team and the weapons that he has on the field. Even though DeAndre Hopkins has been hobbled much of the year,
Mhm.
but he's got a resurgent AJ Green, who's still not a Hall of Famer, despite what Paul thinks.
Come on, man.
Uh, he's got Zach Ertz, he's got Rondale Moore, he's got Christian Kirk, he's got Edmonds, he's got weapons all over the place, right? And we're looking at guys with less doing more or similar numbers than him. And so, because of that, I wouldn't call him an elite guy. I think he's definitely capable of becoming that. But I think there's another level of maturity that
Mhm.
needs to happen with Kyler Murray before he can step into that spot. I mean, you think about it. This is only his third season, um, you know, in the NFL. Um, and he's always gotten sacked a lot. Like rookie year, he led the league in sacks. He got sacked 48 times, right? So those numbers are going to be back up again this year because last year he got sacked 27 times in 16 games. This year he's already been sacked 25 times in 11 games. So, he's probably going to get sacked more this year than he did last year. But, he's a solid guy and definitely on the uptick, but not elite at this
Mhm.
point. So I would say he's not. What do you say, Paul?
I'll say this. First off, Detroit literally doubled their wins. I mean, come on, Ryan, for God's sakes. I mean, Jesus.
Mhm.
But
Yeah,
anywho,
it happened.
and now they don't have the number one pick, so they really appreciate that. I mean, no, Kyler Murray has obviously come up short. Just short. Anywho, let me get back. I mean, the fact of the matter is this: if there was some sort of NFL combine triathlon kind of thing, Kyler Murray may be the guy, fast and can
Mhm.
throw in a pair of shorts and looks great. But to me, the elite category, and it's subjective. You said, kind of like top three quarterback in the league, Brady, Rodgers, Mahomes type for me. To me, it's putting up the elite numbers. That's part of it for me, and also playoff success. To be an elite guy, you need to have
Mhm.
that kind of success. And again, for your sample size, I can only judge him on what's been here so far. That just doesn't exist yet. It just hasn't existed yet for Kyler Murray. And while obviously it looks like they're going to get into the playoffs this year, how far will they go with DeAndre Hopkins if and when he returns at some point? That to me is a big question. So big time players make big time plays, and he's made a lot of them this year. But to me, the playoffs is what's going to determine whether or not he's elite. Right now, when you lose to the Detroit Lions, when the number one seed is on the line, that doesn't happen. That shouldn't happen, quite frankly.
Mhm.
If you can't lose your focus, what were they 7-0 on the road heading into that game against Detroit, a dead fish
Ooh.
in the water type team.
Ooh.
You just can't lose that kind of game. They lost that kind of game. He's got a lot to prove if he wants to join the elite category.
Mhm.
To me, prior to the year, he wasn't, and still now, he has not joined that discussion.
Mhm.
Yeah. What do you say, Lorenzo?
The doo-doo emoji, Ryan, definitely applies to the Cardinals. That's the best emoji I would describe. Now,
Ooh.
as far as Kyler Murray being elite, it's a clean sweep. He's not elite yet. I mean, I judge quarterbacks more on how they take care of the football, especially during this time of year. He hasn't proven that just yet. And then to go to Detroit, you're a 12.5 favorite. You're a 12.5 favorite, or I believe it was 13 by some, and then to lose by 18 this late in the year. I mean, Arizona is now playing like a team that could be one and done. And I mean, Kyler could probably do well in like an NFL themed decathlon or triathlon or maybe in the winter sports realm, speed skating. But I mean, right now, yeah,
Speed skating.
it is a
That's-
sport.
Where
That's
did this come
specific.
from?
You know,
Yeah,
I
but-
like Blades of Glory. You know, Will Ferrell. That's a good
Where
movie.
in the,
but
where
that
in the
speed-
devil
speed-
did
that come from?
speed skating come from?
Well, I wasn't going to say curling,
Wow.
Why are we talking about the Olympics?
but anyway,
Winter's
back,
coming. I mean,
yeah,
Winter
yeah,
Olympics is
yeah.
coming. So, I
But
mean,
Kyler Murray though. I mean, I wouldn't even put him right now in the top 7. I think he barely cracks the top 10 right now. I just feel like that, quarterbacks, like the elite of the elite, know how to take care of the football. And right now, Kyler's not there yet.
They laid an egg, man. I mean, I think Dan Campbell heard me the other day or a couple weeks ago. I was making fun of him, saying that maybe a high school team he could coach. I think he pretty much heard
Or
me.
Planet Fitness as well.
Something like that, yeah. And
Yeah.
I think
that was
Dan
definitely
Campbell
Ryan.
heard
Definitely
me.
Ryan said that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so pretty brutal.
Bishop Sycamore, or your favorite high school, Brian, Bishop
Yeah,
Sycamore.
that's
Yeah,
my
there you
favorite place, man. You got to go there. It's an experience. It's an experience. It really is. I would have to agree with you. I had to take a look at what we had in the NFL in terms of the quarterbacks. I would probably say I have Kyler Murray 8th, honestly, the 8th best quarterback in the
Mhm.
league. So, no,
Who's
actually
above him?
9th. I'm sorry, actually 9th. As I would put Josh Allen ahead of him.
Herbert.
I would put Lamar ahead of him.
Herbert's numbers. Yeah, Herbert's definitely near the
put
top
Lamar
5.
ahead of him. I put Mahomes ahead of him. I put
Mhm.
Herbert ahead of him. Dak Prescott goes ahead of him.
Mac Jones.
Aaron Rodgers goes ahead of him.
Well, I thought Zach
Tom
Wilson
Brady.
for Paul.
Tom Brady already also obviously goes ahead of him.
I feel like Dak and
then-
Kyler are like neck and neck because I think Dak hasn't been that great lately. You've
nah,
been watching. If you've been watching Dak lately, he hasn't been that great.
Nah,
Even against the Giants.
I've seen
If you've been watching Dak
play at a level that I've never seen Kyler play.
That's fair.
Oh, okay, maybe earlier in the year, but we're talking now. I don't know about that. I think Dak has pretty much been maybe not as bad as Murray, but I didn't really see anything that was impressive against the Giants or the Saints.
Like I think players
yeah.
go through stretches and stuff here and there, but like I said, I've seen Dak play at a level that I have not seen Kyler play.
Okay.
And the last person I'd say is Russell Wilson.
That's why I think it's neck and neck because I don't think it's a really big comparison.
No, I don't know if it's a huge gap. I mean, I think it's even more arguable that Justin Herbert, he's better than Justin Herbert. I think it's even more arguable that Kyler's better than him. So, all right, let's move to the last and final question. Are the Green Bay Packers the clear-cut best team in the NFC right now? Clear-cut is a little bit of a strong term. I'm not gonna say clear-cut. If you ask me who's the best team in the NFC right now, I would say it's Green Bay. Green Bay is 11-3, best record in the NFC. They've won 3 games in a row. If you look at all of the division leaders, though, them and the Packers are the 2 hottest teams in the NFC. Aaron Rodgers has been just masterful this year. They're doing it without their offensive line in full, at full health. I'm going to tell you something about this run game, this thunder and lightning thing they got going with Dylan and Aaron Jones is pretty nasty, man. I would not want to tackle Dylan if I had 5 of my friends with me. Like the dude is a absolute horse. If they are one of the only teams in the league that, from an offensive standpoint, they're built to hold a lead or to come back. And that is a very important characteristic. If you get behind them, running downhill with Dylan and with Rodgers taking the appropriate chances and being like, do you guys realize like how infrequently Aaron Rodgers throws an interception? Like it
hardly happens.
It's just literally stupid. Like he has 30 touchdown passes this year and 4 interceptions. 4 of them.
That's Kirk Cousins level right there.
And he threw 2 of them in the first game of the season.
Yeah.
He's thrown literally 2 interceptions since September 12th. 2.
Wow.
Like, I don't even know. I don't even know. So if you ask me, are they the best team in the NFC? I say yes. Clear cut, it's a little, the Rams have something to say about that. The Cowboys have something to say about that, and the Bucs still have something to say about it. But I would say they are the best. I just think there's still a conversation to be had.
Mhm.
What about you, Paul?
I will also say, by the way, on a similar note, Zach Wilson only has 2 picks over the last 5 games. So let's show our level of respect here, boys. Okay,
What?
if we
What?
can, 2 picks
What?
over the last 5 games.
Participation trophy.
What?
Yeah, pretty impressive. Anywho,
What?
What?
I have to say this: the clear-cut best team in the NFC may be a team that I'm about to name that none of you want to hear, but facts are facts. The Dallas
Okay.
Cowboys are the best team in the NFC,
Mm.
clear-cut, top of the rope. They're going to win the Super Bowl this year. It's
Whoa.
America's team.
Ooh.
I'm ready to put all my chips into the middle of the table for
Okay.
how about them Cowboys? I mean, I know, Ryan, you mentioned Dak Prescott struggles, and he has. There's absolutely no question about it. Jerry Jones calling him out on radio shows, and my dad's a diehard Dallas Cowboys fan, so I've seen every Cowboys game for the last 25 years. So I get it. And again, Dak Prescott is not playing well. But that to me is almost more impressive that they're 10-4. He's not playing well. To me, I'm like, phenomenal. You want to play your best foot. You don't want to climax too early, okay? You want to make sure that the love is
Did you just
happening.
say that you don't want to climax your man? If you what?
So, ice skating, this and that. You want to make sure that the love lasts. And this is a marathon, not a sprint. You need to make sure that every second you need to light the candles. The mood has to be just
my.
right.
Oh
You
man,
make
I'm just.
sure you lay the groundwork,
is-
boys. Lay a
Good Lord.
foundation that will last. Okay, you got
That'll be a headline right there.
Yeah.
You
That's
got
your
it.
headline. You
Here's
just
the
got a
thing.
headline right there.
Jets analysts accuse
Slow
the
jibs.
Packers of premature ejaculation.
There you go. So
Yeah.
here's the thing, okay, is that Green Bay, okay, they got Devontae Adams and then nobody else at wide receiver. Marquez Valdez-Scantling. You can bring all the 3-name people you want, but I'll tell you, C.D. Lamb will beat that, okay? Amari Cooper will beat that. Dalton Schultz will beat that. Zeke in the backfield will beat that. They've just got a better team. And look at that Cowboys defense that is playing absolutely insane. And that speaks to the point. Dak Prescott isn't playing his best right now, but the Cowboys defense came out of nowhere. Who thought the Cowboys defense was going to be this good? Trayvon Diggs, a.k.a. Mr. 10 interception? Micah Parsons, Mr. not just defense rookie of the year. That's already on his mantle. It's a formality. Give him the award. How about defensive player of the year? How about MVP, baby? Okay? The Cowboys are here, and they are going to get a championship. They haven't had it since 1995. It's time to dust it off. They're delivering it. America's team. They're the clear-cut best team. Don't give me any of this Green Bay nonsense.
Yeah. I think you're again high, but it's okay. And you just do what you have to do. All right, Lorenzo, what do you got to say?
Apologies, Paul. I'm going to give you some Green Bay nonsense. All right. They no, they're not the clear-cut favorite, but I am going to say this. They're the most ticked off, the most pissed off, the most irate football team in these playoffs, and here's the reason why. 2 years ago, they go to the NFC title game against San Francisco, get ran out of the building. Last year, they hosted the NFC title game, lost in overtime. This year, they're looking at these two, the last 2 years. This is the year where they're like, boys, now we got to finish. This is the time to do it. And another thing, too, is like last year, Tampa Bay had a pissed off Tom Brady because of what happened in New England. They ride all the way to the Super Bowl. Previous year, Kansas City was mad about losing to New England in the AFC title game. They ride to the Super Bowl, win that one. I feel like that's the reason why Green Bay is motivated. Green Bay is definitely right now. I would put them as definitely the number one, but this NFC is loaded. I mean, I wouldn't rule out the Rams. I do agree, Paul. Dallas is red hot, but Dallas, I feel like, is going to get educated by Green Bay with a veteran like Aaron Rodgers, with Devontae Adams also playing in the contract year, with Jair Alexander also going against Dak Prescott, with Matt LaFleur. I'm sure Matt LaFleur has learned his lessons the last 2 years as head coach. I feel like Green Bay is going to have a whole new set of focus.
Can I just ask you, Lorenzo? I just need to ask a question. A follow-up,
What you got?
if I may. Is when did we start rewarding mediocrity? Okay, they've been the first loser.
It's called 2021 in America.
Maybe that's it because you're saying. You're saying, gee, Willikers, guys, they've made the NFC Championship game twice in a row. And guess what? They were the first loser. Congratulations. Put your participation trophy, your banner up. We were in the NFC title game. We lost, but we were there. They blew it. That's what they did, okay, pal? They blew it, and they're going to blow it.
But they're mad as hell. They're mad as hell because of those 2 years.
But they're going to be mad as hell again because they're about to lose.
Against Dallas.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and they'll right the wrong. Remember that Des Bryant catch, no catch? They owe him some payback.
I think it's touchy subject in Dallas, though.
Touchy, very touchy, tender.
It's very tender, very touchy. All right, Ryan, lastly but not least, what do you got?
I'm going to say I agree with the statement. I really do. I know I've been back and forth with this question. This isn't really like a easy question. And I agree with Brian. Clear cut's a little bit of a stretch. But in terms of the best team in the NFC right now, I mean, I think the Packers are right behind the Buccaneers in terms of offense DVOA, and the Buccaneers just lost Godwin. So once the Packers are still healthy right now, when you look at their next couple games, they're going to be one of the best, if not the best, offense in football. And defensively, yes, like you look at their whole season as a whole. Yeah, there have been times where they've given up points to the Bears, last week. But I got to say, like, the defense has really surprised me. I think they've really done very well in that area, and they're going to get Kenny Clark back. So once they get healthier on that front, maybe they get Alexander. Look, this defense, I got to say, that's the one thing that I'm going to keep my eye on with the Packers. But I'm going to say they are the best team in football, but not by a whole lot. But you look at the rest of the teams, I mean, the Buccaneers are trending downward, even though I still like the Buccaneers. They're trending downward with the injuries. Cardinals as well. Rams, yeah, they're trending upward, but I mean, I still need to see more with the Rams. And they're playing tomorrow. But I think the Packers, I think you can make a very good argument. They're the best team right now. And I'm not going to give you too many, huge like comparisons with the Packers. But I'm going to say this. If they go into Lambeau and they play a team like the Cowboys or trying to think the Cardinals or anyone else, I really have. I think I have more trust in the Packers this year than any year. Because that offense, you look with Devontae Adams, that run game with Dylan and what's Jesus.
Aaron
Jones. It's been a long day. Aaron Jones. Can't forget about him. But yeah, that offense, you already know coming in, they're going to rack up 30 points. You already know it. So once Aaron Rodgers, he doesn't have the turnover-worthy plays at all. You're going to have to go into a shootout. You're going to have to go into a slugfest. And I think the Packers have that edge right now.
Yeah, I would. I'd have to agree. But that is all that we have for you today, everyone. Hopefully, I hope everybody enjoyed themselves, watching, participating, the whole nine. As usual, I appreciate you watching. God bless and peace.
Merry Christmas.